There we go.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, hey everybody, I'm Bill.
And I'm Elizabeth. Live simple.
Live free. And if you've been watching our channel over the past week, you know that I just finished my debt elimination seminar. And there was something in this that I did not mention in the seminar that's going to be absolutely crucial for you to be able to follow the plan and get yourself out of debt. And that is
Budgeting.
budgeting.
Yes.
Yep. Now, budgeting is, to a lot of people, it's a dirty word.
It shouldn't be.
For many years, I agreed with the philosophy of budgeting, but I just dug in my heels and I didn't want to do it. And we would talk about it, and it was like, yeah, that's a good idea. She really wanted to do it. I said, yeah, that's a good idea. But I just sort of never got around to it. And then I don't even remember what it was that finally brought that about. But finally, we set up a budget, and I agreed to it. And I expected it to be really restrictive. I found out it was the exact opposite. Just like getting out of debt. You feel like if you can't use credit, it's going to be restrictive. The reality is you can live a better life without using debt.
It's actually freeing.
Same way with a budget, because now we know where the money's going. Now we know how much extra money we have to spend on things. Used to be I would just go out and spend something and then find out we didn't have enough money to pay the bills because of what I spent. And now she's just sort of smiling at me because that's the truth. But now we budget everything out so we know exactly how much we have. And what is so cool is that means that we know we have money that we have budgeted for something, and so we can go and do that guilt-free without worrying about whether we have the money for it.
Yes.
It's actually been freeing. It's been a great relief.
Yes.
Now here's the thing. If you're trying to get out of debt, and if you went through the seminar, you know what I'm talking about with your accelerator margin. You find your accelerator margin and you determine how much money you're going to be able to save to be able to accelerate your debt payments. But if you don't do something to keep track of that money, when you save it, it's just going to fritter away into your budget, into your general fund, and you'll never, just like, where did it go? So that's where budgeting comes in. So what I really recommend is that you pay the most important things first out of your paycheck. The government is going to take their taxes right up front. They're going to it's withheld from your tax from your paycheck. Why is that? Because the government knows if they don't take it first, they're not going to get it. The tithe is the same way. As soon as we get a paycheck, we pay a tithe on it immediately. Then we pay all of our bills, and then whatever's left after the bills are paid, then that's what we use to live on as far as groceries and gas and those sorts of things. So what I'm recommending is that you add in to the things that you pay immediately. As soon as you get paid, you add in your accelerator margin, whatever it was that you determined that you could do as an accelerator margin to get yourself out of debt. Now, what's going to be very helpful to do that is if you make a budget.
Yes.
Now, Elizabeth and I did actually 3 videos on budgeting several years ago. They're still here. They're still valid, so we're not going to talk about the details of the budget in this video. I'm just telling you about the videos that we've already done. There's one all about the budget and why it's important and that sort of thing, and then there's another one. The second one is how to set up a budget, how to set up a spreadsheet on paper to set up your budget, and then the third one is how to build an Excel spreadsheet so you can do an electronic spreadsheet to take care of your budget. Now I have a playlist of all of our seminar videos, and I put the 3 budgeting videos at the end of that playlist. So there will be a link to the playlist on the end screen of this video and down below, so you can see the playlist, which will show you all of the seminar videos as well as the budgeting videos. And I really highly recommend that you use the budgeting, watch the budgeting videos to help you keep track of your accelerator margin so that you can get yourself paid off.
when you know that you've got the money set aside that you're going to need for things, then there's such a sense of freedom in knowing that the money that you have set aside that you can spend is available, and it's not going to mess you up if you need to spend it.
Right.
And I'm the tightwad of the couple, and it has been so freeing for me to know that if I need to go get something, I can go get it because I know I've still got the money set aside for what we're going to need to be able to pay. And you can just take that accelerator margin and just be something that you set aside to pay. And then you can look at what you have left and, do the changes, like, maybe less McDonald's lunches or whatever you decide to do. You'll be able to know then that that money that you are diligently working to save is actually going to go toward your accelerator margin, so you can start getting these bills completely paid off. And it has sure freed me up a lot. I actually just love it. All my little ducks are in a row, and that makes me very happy.
Well, just as an example, let's say that you're used to eating out for lunches, and you determine that you're actually spending $400 a month on lunches at McDonald's or whatever. I talked about this in the seminar. It's very possible to spend that kind of money. And let's say that you determine that you're going to cut that down from $400 to $300, so you have $100 for your accelerator margin. So what you do is you take your money, as soon as you get paid, you immediately put $100 into your accelerator margin fund. That leaves $300 for meals. That means you're going to have to suck it up, Buttercup. You're going to have to do whatever's necessary to get your meals for lunches for just $300. If that means taking more sandwiches instead of buying McDonald's, so be it. But by setting up your accelerator margin right away, instead of going through the month and then whatever's left, that's what goes to your accelerator margin, I'm going to tell you, that ain't going to happen.
Yeah, it won't be there.
No, that's not going to happen.
And see, the thing of it is, this plan can really work to get out of debt. But if you don't really have a handle on what's going on with your money, then you can have the best intentions in the world, but you're not necessarily going to have that extra to put onto whatever bill you want to pay off. Whichever one of the credit cards or whatever you decide to pay off first.
Right.
And so by getting a handle on where your money's going and setting up a kind of a budget where this is what I'm going to spend for this and that, and setting that money aside, then you've got a very good shot at being able to actually get started on it and achieve the goal that you have, that you've really wanted to be able to achieve. And there is nothing that ever comes up now that I don't have the money saved ahead of time.
That's right.
And so we talk about that on the budgeting videos, but just to know that I've got some saved ahead for stuff that's going to be coming up is really good for my psyche, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, let me give you just two examples. Now, we talk in depth on the budgeting video, so I don't want to go into too much depth. So let me give you two short examples. We annualize our utilities.
Yeah.
In other words, normally, now some utility companies will actually do this for you and when they charge you, but you can do it yourself. Normally, in the summer, our electric bill and our utility bill is considerably lower than it is in the winter.
Depending on what's going on, of course, now with the wood stove, but yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
but
say in general.
Like, let's say, well, we lived up north where we didn't use air conditioning much. Now we're going to be using air conditioning a lot more down here. But up there, let's just pick some numbers out of the air. Let's say in the summer we paid $100 a month for electricity. And in the winter, because we were heating with electric, we were paying $450 a month.
Right. Like I said, this is setting the wood stove aside. Let's just go for yeah.
And so we would just figure out how much we were spending on an annual basis, divide by 12, and that was our monthly budget for utilities. So that we would put that into the utilities fund, and over the summer, we might be putting $220 or something into the utilities fund and only spending $100. That means that in the winter, when the
That's right.
utilities were $450, we were still only spending $225 out of our monthly paycheck, because the rest we already had accrued in the utilities fund to be able to pay for it. So we just paid a straight $225 every month, instead of it going, being hard to pay in the winter when it would cost a lot more. So that's an example of a budget. Another one is a car fund.
Yes,
I
important.
I talked all through the seminar about don't spend money on, borrow money for a car, pay cash for your car, so you don't have to make car payments. But you know what? We still make car payments.
Absolutely, diligently.
But we put it into our own savings account. We have a car fund in our budget, and every month we put a certain amount in there. Only you can determine whether that is, whether that's $300 a month or $20 a month. Determine what that is. That money then is used for car repairs, new tires, new starter, that sort of thing. Something comes up, it's so comforting to know that you already have the money because you've been budgeting it to just go and get it fixed.
Yes.
And if we don't spend all of that money on repairs, then the money that's sitting in there is starting to accrue towards purchasing our next used vehicle a few years down the road. So,
and like we've said, if you come in with cash, you can save money on just about anything.
Right. So like I said, I don't want to go into any more detail about about budgeting than that, because the budgeting video we did goes into a lot of detail about it. But I really highly encourage you and recommend that you watch our 3 budgeting videos to help you as a very important tool to keep track of your accelerator margin and get yourself out of debt faster. Because quite frankly, if you don't budget, you're probably going to, in spite of the best intentions, probably going to fall by the wayside and not accomplish your goals.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be something or another that'll absorb that money.
Right.
Just miscellaneous can be a lot sometimes. And so if you're not fighting to hang on to that money, you're trying so hard to save, it's going to just kind of be gone and you won't be sure where it went. One of the things that I didn't talk about too much, we didn't talk about too much in the videos we want you to watch about budgeting, because the topic wasn't really coming up, but it did come up when we were doing the seminar, and I think this is important to understand. There are people that will use a credit card just to accrue miles or something like that, but they pay it off every month. And so someone will say, well, yeah, I have a credit card, but I pay it off every month. And so you never get caught in the interest trap and all of that. But you're gonna, even at that, I just wanted to say you've got to be very, very careful. What we want to avoid doing as we become more and more just a lifestyle of being debt-free, you want to avoid promising future earnings for something that you already have spent money on. And so if a person is going to be using a credit card and paying it off every month, then don't think of it in terms of, well, I'll spend this now, but then at the end of the month when I pay my bills, I'll just pay it off. Because maybe at the end of the month, something has happened that's taken up a chunk of that money. Maybe you'll suddenly find yourself, whoa, I don't think I can pay this off. And then it's very easy to make a smaller payment. It is a credit card after all. And then all of a sudden you're finding yourself in a situation where you're accruing interest again, and you're not getting away from that debt, that interest in the debt. So if a person is going to use a credit card, to accrue flying miles or whatever you want to do it for, what you do is you have a budget, and when you're going to spend the money on the credit card, you go ahead and you set that money aside, just as if you've just spent it. Mm-hmm. Now I have the money, now I'm spending it. I may be paying this off at the end of the month, but I have that money set aside, and it will not be used for anything else. It must be used to pay the credit card payment. And then that credit card payment should be paid just as soon as it possibly can be, to keep everything caught up and going. So even when a person's got the very best intentions of paying something off every month, you've got to make sure that you have that money set aside. Because once again, if I buy something on the 3rd and I know I'm going to pay it off at the end of the month, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 3.5 weeks. And I do not want to be spending money now that I am promising future earnings to be able to pay for it. So that wasn't covered in our budgeting videos, so I kind of felt it was important to just touch on it.
All right. So there it is. Like I said, I want to encourage you to watch the budgeting videos, the 3 of them that we have. And like I mentioned, they are in our financial playlist. And you'll see a link on the end screen if you're watching it on a computer, or in the description down below. Go to that playlist. You'll see all the seminar videos, plus the budgeting videos, plus some others that you can watch as well about finance. I think you'll find it very, very helpful as a tool to help you get out of debt. So I just really appreciate all the feedback that I have gotten over the past week about the seminar, and some of you have obviously seen the light. Some of you are so excited to realize that you can get out of debt in 5 years or 7 years or whatever it is, where you didn't think it was possible. Many of you have told me that this is life-changing. And I am Go ahead.
I said it sure has been for us.
Yeah, and I am so pleased that you are understanding that, and I really encourage you to stick with it, because if you do, and it's not always easy, but if you do, it will absolutely change your life. So
You have to decide that your life is changed forever. You will never use debt again.
right,
And it feels like you can't live that way, but I can promise you, we have lived that way since 2008. And we have the one situation, and that has been able to get into this little house. And we're going to be sharing a little bit later about how we're taking care of that. But you can live perfectly, wonderfully without debt.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we've only got a couple more months left on the mortgage on this house, and we'll have it paid off.
It will be paid for.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for the encouraging feedback that you gave me on the seminar.
Yeah.
I really love doing that seminar. I love to see people's eyes go from depressed to excited when they realize, well, it's possible.
Yeah.
So, check out the description for the playlist, and I guess we're done.
Yeah. You know, something really wonderful is that now that we are out of debt and we can have a little bit more discretionary money. You know, someone that I love very much really had needed some new boots recently, and I wanted her to have good ones. And it was no big deal to me, and when I got her some Uggs. Uggs are wonderful, by the way. And just to know that I had the ability to be able to just love her and give her something that she needed means the world to me.
She was having real trouble keeping her feet warm.
Keeping her feet warm.
And
yes.
Uggs are incredibly warm.
Yes,
so.
they are. They're the warmest thing I've ever worn in my life. And I don't know, just a simple thing like that, knowing that if I'm with somebody to have lunch, I can pay for it, and it's no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love that. I just, yeah. Anyway, that was a blessing to me recently to feel like I could give her warm feet because I love her.
All right, thanks everybody for watching.
Live simple.
Live free. You be blessed.
Yeah. Love you guys. We'll see you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.